Oh-hoo.
Hey,
Welcome
buddy.
to Blair and Barker. How are you?
Good.
We need to apologize, first of all,
No.
before we do anything. Yeah, we do.
You speak for yourself.
No, we both need to apologize.
what?
It has come to my attention that several people out there, three, had concerns about our relationship, or have concerns about our relationship
It's warranted.
after yesterday's show.
Yeah. I didn't think it's that bad.
I
Did
didn't
you?
either. No.
That's light.
I mean, I'm used to being right, so I kind of, I just kind of roll with it. I put up with some of your eccentricities.
You guys try to get along, won't you?
He's the one that started
He's
it
the
all.
one that started it. Buck is the one that
He
started
did
it.
Wagner leading
He
off and played second.
Got that started.
Yeah, he did.
But anyhow, so I just wanted to assure people that,
It's never been better.
it's never been better, and Barker has apologized to me off air and admitted that I'm right. So we're all
People
we're
that's
good to
ever
go.
listened to me on this show knows better.
We're all good to go. Luis Frias probably should apologize.
How mad were you about
I was so chapped
11:40
last
last night? God, if you guys could have heard him off air right before we went on to do Blue Jays.
There is nothing
Man,
worse.
it
There's
is
nothing worse than two
it's
teams
horrible.
out of the race, and
I just get Jeff. That's the one part of it. We,
Kevin,
we
threw 50 pitches.
yeah, we joke around a lot about the Blue Jays,
50 pitches.
and we've tried to add,
reliever in a 13-8 loss.
we've tried to add some light to the season
try
and
to
what's
keep it
going on, and try and keep it fun. And you were right about it. I don't know when you said this, but it's about 2 months ago about that bullpen and when they punted, and you can't believe that they got this big of a payroll and the things that they continue to run out there. It's just.
I
I
just
just don't know how they can accept that.
well, I keep reminding myself that that the people making those decisions are smarter than us. So I keep telling myself that they have better information. They're smarter than us. It's just the pitchers aren't
Good to yell
able
at you again.
to execute.
Oh, good to yell at you again.
I'm just saying.
I don't like that answer.
I'm just saying. Anyhow, the Jays lost 13-8 to the Texas. It was the Texas Rangers last night. I mean, really, you needed a hazmat suit.
There was some good things the Blue Jays did.
Yeah,
You want me to tell you what they were?
David Schneider
Nah,
hit another home run.
he did.
I know you don't like David
No,
Schneider
he's got better
anymore.
posture. I mean, he's controlling the front side pull. Like, that's again, I think he's
Chris
used.
Bassett in the bullpen walked 9, hit 2 batters, gave up 2 home runs. The Jays committed a couple of
that's the
errors. There
bad
was a
things.
strikeout wild pitch.
There's
it was
some
a
bad.
sloppy,
There was some good things.
Sloppy game.
They had a really good game plan against Evaldi. He throws strike 165% of the time. When he gets ahead, batters are hitting 185. So what do you want to do? You want to be very aggressive.
They had a
early
lot
in
of 2-out
counts.
hits.
That's what they did. Yeah, they had 6 RBIs with 2 outs.
Yeah,
they were
that's good.
6 for 14 with runners in scoring position.
okay.
1, 2, and 3 in the order were 7 for 14 with 2 RBIs.
Not bad.
The bad things were, like you mentioned, the 2 errors that scored, the stolen base that scored. That's something I think if you're Pete Walker, man alive, you got to figure out something to hold a dude at first. Like figure out how to change up the times or be quicker or actually care about the guy standing at first base. I mean, that just running all over till you get tagged out as an opposing team. You'd think that has to stop, right? And Bo Bichette got a couple of hits. He looks healthy. He got, what did he get, 1 ground ball? Like he looks. I'm still trying to figure out why he's doing that 2-strike approach, and I do have somebody all over that, and they will be letting me know here sooner than later on why that is. But
Yeah, what we're talking about is Bo does
not used his leg kick
does not
anymore.
used his leg kick. Now,
No.
he also said yesterday, and Bo returned to the lineup yesterday. He also said yesterday that, he'd spent some time to recalibrate, spoke to his dad. Basically, he said that what I want to do is finish out the year by keeping my mouth shut and just playing every day and trying to get some hits and all. So it's possible, Kevin, that he's just doing this because he just wants to finish the year with, hits.
Yeah.
Wants to get some hits down the stretch.
I would think that's
I'm
what
hoping
it
it's
is.
not a carry.
I don't.
I cannot believe that it's a quote unquote carryover from the calf because there's
think you're
no
right.
way they would put him
Well,
out
he
there.
looked good. I think he
And he
the
looked
one
good in the field,
Yeah, the
too.
one time he had the swing and bunt down the third baseline, like he looked like he was running the way he was supposed to be running. Like his helmet flew off a couple of times. He's more worried about catching that thing than he was worried about thinking about his legs. So. Yeah, it seemed to me like side to side, up and back on the defensive side, he was doing the things he looked like he was supposed to be doing as a shortstop. So there were some positive things. But that bullpen, man, I don't know how people don't lose their job just because of that. Like I said that to you, and I continue to say it. I mean, this team's got $235 million payroll. Got the worst bullpen in baseball. They've had that since like the middle of June.
Yeah.
I just don't, Jeff, that's the part of, we joke around. We try to make fun about this thing and, try and get people to tune in and want to watch the Blue Jays and give them all the insight and why David Schneider still has a job, make fun of that. And but man alive, that bullpen, the things they run out there, Jeff, I mean, that's a joke, man. Half them dudes ain't big leaguers.
Well, it's pretty clear
like
that
it's something.
Look, it's pretty clear that they're throwing stuff against the wall. I think they're trying to be like the Rays, identify a pitcher who has one particular pitch, develop that pitch. It isn't working.
Why would you do that if you have the payroll like the Dodgers?
Well, but I mean, yeah, but the
got
point,
money to spend.
But the point is, you know
Spend it on the right people.
Well, you know what relievers are like. We've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of relievers out there that are sure things. I mean, there just aren't. Craig Kimbrell was DFA'd today by the Baltimore Orioles. He's fallen off the face of the earth. The Philadelphia Phillies have some decisions to make about their bullpen going into the postseason. So, I tend to think that what this is the Jays are trying guys who have a pitch they've identified that they like. And if it doesn't work, if they can't perform, they won't be here next year. But I'll tell you what, I mean, I guarantee a guy like Brandon Little, I guarantee a guy like Tommy Nance, they'll at least be in spring training. You got to bring in a lot of arms to spring training. So I think that's all we're seeing right now is they're sifting through a bunch of arms to try to find a guy who's going to be the last guy in the bullpen. That's essentially what it is. I don't think anybody's under the impression, I'm not talking about guys like Green and Genesis Cabrera. I'm talking about the Tommy Nances, the Brendan Littles, the Zach Pops, all these guys that are brought up. They're just trying to see if any of them are worth anything. And if not, it doesn't cost you anything. You send them packing. But that doesn't mean that it's easy to watch them. Like it's not easy. It's not enjoyable watching a team that's in last place discover that the guy they're running out there can't pitch. It's not an easy watch. It's not good. But I mean, that's where we are. And it's where we've been all year. I think
well, not all year.
Well,
it's about the middle of June.
Middle of June.
Yeah.
But I really think that when the Jays do their postseason media availabilities, when it's Ross and Mark, that Mark has already come out. Mark Shapiro already said in that interview he did a couple of weeks ago. The first thing he said when asked about the year is the bullpen. We have a lot of issues in the bullpen. I think the question that needs to be asked is, how did that happen? Why did you bring back as many guys as you did? Look, Jordan Romano gets hurt. Injuries are going to happen. I get all that. But why did you let John Schneider go without Jordan Romano and Jimmy Garcia for however long that was? What was the point of that? And that will remain the most confusing thing to me because, again, the Jays in the previous 2 years, they've done some nice work with their bullpen. Ross Atkins has done some nice work with that bullpen. There's nothing wrong with the addition of Jordan Hicks. There was nothing wrong with the addition of Cabrera at the trade deadline last year. We talked about the year before, Trevor Richards and Adam Simber. And I mean, they've made moves that have worked out in the bullpen. That's what I found really puzzling about this year. This is something that they have done in the past. So we'll need that. To me, is the most pressing question. Obviously, are you going to sign Bo? You're going to sign Vladdy. Those will be the first questions that'll be asked. But in terms of what happened this year, why did you run it back with the same bullpen? What gave you the confidence to do it?
And also why, if you end up with 77 wins, there will be a playoff team get into the playoffs with 85 wins. You do the math. Like, it's a bad year just to basically punt and bring the same people back and not doing anything about it when it was bad. And it was festering. I know what the record was when Jimmy Garcia went down, something around June 17th, I think it was.
Yeah.
We get it. But Man alive.
There were 2 games under 500.
Just to be running out the things you're running out now is just, boy, that's a bad look.
Let's give you a run on
Did you see Petey? I don't want to put a little bow on that. That's the first time, actually, because I really pay attention to the coaches and how they handle this kind of thing. Last night was basically the first time that I've ever seen the pitching coach visibly show frustration. Like shaking, he never does that. That's basically like I've never seen that.
He'll do this when he's leaning over.
I've never seen him shake his head, do the little I got a migraine. Like that's the first time. So, it's a shame.
We've got a fun show today. Ruben Amaro Jr., MLB Network analyst, host of the Phillies show, former Phillies general manager, will join us. Again, there's some interesting moves being made around baseball today. Just before we came on, apparently the Dodgers locker room, the Dodgers clubhouse, I should say, Bobby Miller doesn't have a locker. So, there may be a move made there. We've already talked about Craig Kimbrell DFA'd by the Orioles. Orioles are in a world of hurt. They're in a world of hurt. And we'll talk to Ruben about that. Chris Leroux joins us. We'll want to talk about Bowden Francis starting tonight. No Brian Serven. Brian Serven DFA'd by the Blue Jays. Brian Serven got a lot of credit from the manager just a week ago or less than a week ago for his work with Bowden Francis. We'll talk to Chris Leroux about that. He's a former pitcher. Was there a catcher he preferred pitching to? Is there anything to that? And we've got tickets to see the Jays and the Red Sox down at the Rogers Centers. All that to give away. Ahead of tonight's game, Bowden Francis against Corey Bradford of the Texas Rangers. There is a lot of intriguing baseball going on right now. I don't know if, and that's always the case, I don't know if I expected so much of that intrigue to be in the AL Central. Yeah. I talked at the start of the year. It's a division on the way up, I thought. But holy cow.
I'm intrigued about the Padres. You've been calling the Padres for a while.
But the AL Central is a dogfight.
It is.
The Tigers have the best record in the majors since August 11th. They're 24-10. They're a game and a half back of the Twins for the final wild card spot. Jason Benetti is the Tigers TV play-by-play voice. He is one of our favorites. It's always good to talk to you, Jason. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for doing this. 24-10. How did this happen?
Go figure. I mean, I'm just happy to be back on with you guys. I love talking to you guys. I'm sorry we couldn't make it work when the Tigers were in Toronto.
But we wanted to wait until you got close to a playoff spot. You
weren't as good then. We want you better, right? That's it.
I personally wasn't as good then either. So, you nailed it. Look, this team has been one of those groups they say necessity is the mother of invention. Mm-hmm. The Tigers have had some injuries that have allowed some guys to come up and get some reps. They also had, when the Tigers were in Toronto, Reese Olson got hurt, you might remember, after 2 innings of a start, which led the Tigers to start doing a number of openers and then bulk relievers during the course of a 5-game trip through the rotation. And with that came better results. The opener situation has been so successful for the Tigers, and they never would have done it had they not traded Jack Flaherty, had they not had the injury to Reese Olson. But there have been a number of guys in this rotation that they've done openers for, and it's worked out great. They've come in and they've been successful the first time through, bottom of the order. They get kind of settled into the game. They take care of the top of the order. It's been fascinating. And then also, they've had young guys come up from AAA who have played really well, whether it be guys who broke camp with the team, went down to AAA, and then came back. Because if you had to say who's the MVP offensively of the last month and a half, it'd be Parker Meadows, who opened the season 7 for 70-something and then went down to AAA. He's a fantastic center fielder, but he figured it out offensively. Spencer Torkelson has come back and been good over at first base. And, the other total unsung hero, and it's not a guy that anybody will know the name of, but if the Tigers make the playoffs, you're going to hear a lot about it, is Tyler Holton. He has been an opener. He has been a closer. He's been everything in the middle. He's like the entire alphabet to the Tigers bullpen. He's done it all, and he's been one of the best relievers in Major League Baseball over the last 2 years now. And it's been one of those efforts. And you know how AJ Hinch manages.
Mm-hmm.
Every player on the roster has a reason to believe they're going to impact the game on a given day. I think just roster management has been the other part of this.
Do you think this is the best job that AJ's done, not with the Tigers, just in his career, how he speaks? I know I saw him the other day take the starter out, the bases loaded, bringing a guy, hits in the double play. It worked, right? I mean, it's the little moves you make that sort of don't get poked at. And then when you think big picture, it's games like that, managers can kind of win. How much credit he get for this, Jason?
I think a lot. And, Kevin, if the players don't execute, we're all like, yeah, he's done a fine job and they're out of the playoffs, right? But he's put guys in positions. It was last night that you're talking about. Exactly right. Shelby Miller comes in, first pitch slider, gets a double play from Michael Massey out of nowhere. It's exactly what you'd want in that situation. And so, but the one thing that he should really, really get credit for is he doesn't let anybody die on the vine on the bench. Everybody has a reason to be there every day of the week, excluding maybe like yesterday's starting pitcher or 2 days ago's starting pitcher. But everybody on the roster knows exactly when they might pinch hit. They know what guy they're going to be in for. They totally understand that. And so I think he deserves a lot of credit. And, anybody can manage in a situation where you have Yordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, that whole list of people he had in Houston. And he'll tell you that. I'm happy to plug in all 9 guys. But in a case like this, he's managed his tail off. Scott Harris, team president, has done a phenomenal job of giving AJ the pieces that he can use as a Swiss Army knife. And I think it's been a whole collective group. It's a good indication of why you need to have an organization that is all pointing the same direction. Because if the front office thought that they needed to have a bunch of 15 home run guys on the bench, AJ couldn't do this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think when we talk about the Blue Jays a lot, it sort of sounds the way you're talking about the Tigers is your best players sometimes have to be your best players, and then you need a surprise or two. And you look at your Tigers team, Riley Green for me stands out, right? It's what he sort of went through the last couple of years to what he is now. Why the difference, Jason, in him offensively?
Yeah, if you watch him, Kevin, it's more selectivity. He's getting himself out less on fringe pitches. He knows what pitches are meaty, and he knows what pitches are not really for him to drive. So his selectivity and his ability to draw pitchers in and force them closer to the middle of the strike zone has been the headline for him so far this year. I mean, you rarely will see a left-hander hit 2 homers against 2 separate lefties in one game, but that happened on Sunday against Baltimore for Riley Green. It was 2 different lefties he homered against as a left-handed batter. It's very rare. So, but his level of selectivity and his maturity, I mean, he's in his early 20s, but he's a really good outfielder. He has not been affected by the surgery he had last year. Like the opening series of the year, he dove for a ball in the same spot where he hurt himself in Chicago last year. He plays fearlessly. I asked him once, what's your plan against left-handers? And he goes, prepare to die. And I said, what? He goes, prepare to die. They might hit me in the face, but I got to stay in there. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty intense. That's like NC-17, but he's doing it, and that's the way he rolls.
Jason, I don't even know if this is a good question. I should be asking this. I don't know if there's a definition for this, but you've been around a long time. You've been around, a lot of baseball teams. Do the Tigers have it? And what do you think the definition of it is? Blue Jays been looking for it all year and can't seem to find it. What is it, and do the Tigers have it?
The it, I think, is belief. I think that's what you're kind of landing on and circling a little bit is belief. And I think that has to come from some success. But I also think you can't have a clubhouse full of guys who are the first thing top of mind to say is it's a business. And I think the Tigers have done a really good job of creating a team atmosphere. And I don't know what Toronto's been like. I really don't. I haven't been in the clubhouse much at all this year in the series that the Tigers have played the Blue Jays. So I can only speak to the Tigers. But I think it is a bunch of guys who really, in a very need-driven world, not only sports, but like overall, I think they have this understanding that we're playing for something more than ourselves, and they've got talent. I mean, this all wouldn't be possible if they weren't 19-10 in Tarek Skubal's starts. So part of it, I think, is having a starter like tonight where you say, hey, we need a sweep. We're going to a guy that we believe is going to get us a sweep. You have to have talent, but to go along with the talent, you have to have some version of belief combined with guys who are too young to be cynical about the joy of baseball. And I do think part of what makes this team intriguing is that one of their big comeback wins in this stretch was against the Yankees in Williamsport on a Sunday night. They're surrounded by little leaguers, and they played like little leaguers to beat the team of the bigger kids from around the block. And they end up kind of launching themselves into this stretch with 2 out of 3 against the Yankees.
You mentioned Tarek Skubal. He will go tonight for the Tigers against Kansas City. Look, he's a guy. He came into the year. I mean, he's not a surprise to anybody. A lot of people had him as their preseason Cy Young favorite. How is he? Is there something different about him now, Jason, compared to the start of the year? And by that I mean he was highly touted. A lot of people had a lot of faith in him. But has that just increased this year? You know, once we got past the trade deadline nonsense and all that, has it just increased this year?
It has. I mean, he's as much of a dominant machine as anybody I've seen in my time in the majors. This is my 9th year in the majors. I would compare it to 2016, my first year with the White Sox. Chris Sale was this 10 strikeout a night dominant performer, and it felt like nobody was going to touch him. And that's how I feel about Skubal every night. But it's an interesting matchup tonight because if there's one team that has done well against him, it's Kansas City. The Royals have 8 hits on his demon-like changeup. It's the most hits against his changeup of any team in Major League Baseball. They're hitting 400 on it, and I think they've sat on it. I really do. And so I wonder, with his array of stuff that can ruin people's nights, I wonder, like, if anybody's sitting at home watching MLB TV and they want to click on Skubal tonight, I would challenge everybody just to watch how many changeups he throws and see how he uses it against a team that has really sat on it. Because there's no other team in Major League Baseball that's had 2 really successful games against him, and they have. Kansas City has. They've gotten him for 4 runs and 5 runs in 2 of his 3 starts. The other one was a really good start. But what he has been is a consistent strike thrower on the inside corner to right-handers. And you know, like you both know, you watch enough lefties, not everybody's just going to stuff the ball in there on the inside corner, but he gets you off the plate, and then he can wear you out with a changeup, and the slider's good, and he's got a sinker too, and he'll mix in a curveball. So he's basically the bionic pitcher. But what's changed, I think, is from what everybody's said around here, is that he's handling his emotions better than in years past. There were times where he'd give up a home run and kind of get into his own head, or walk somebody and get into his own head. You can see him still boil over a little bit, but he channels it so well now.
Jason, is this a surprise to the organization that the team's gotten hot and taken off like this and actually think they can contend now?
I think if you told them at the beginning of the year that they could be 79 and 73 or something like that, they would have said, yeah, that's very plausible. But if you told them that when they were 55 and 63 and had just traded some guys away, I think they would have said, yeah, I think you have been doing some Schedule 3 substances. You know, like I think there's a chance that that's true because they weren't playing great baseball. Like they went to San Francisco. They lost a game in San Francisco after losing to Seattle in heartbreaking fashion during that road trip. They go 8 under 500 at that point. And then suddenly they start beating teams with consistency and they have this joy around them. So I don't think it would have been a surprise at the beginning of the year. And the one thing I will say is the Tigers have a strong opinion that their developmental sensibility is really, really good. It's why they got Michael Lorenzen to come here last year, who they ended up flipping for a pretty good infield prospect. It's why they got Jack Flaherty here, who they ended up flipping for the current starting shortstop, Trey Sweeney, because when they say we can fix you, we have some solutions, people believe in Chris Vetter and Robin Lund and this pitch design program that the Tigers have. And so I do think they thought there was going to be an upswing. But until you put it on the film, it hasn't happened yet. So I think it wouldn't have been a surprise off the top, but I do think in the end, at 55 and 63, this came totally out of nowhere for everybody.
So it sounds like they're in their window, and next year when we're making our picks, I should pick the Tigers to make the playoffs at least the next couple of years.
Yes, I believe that. Like, that's part of the reason I came here and took the job, is because I believe in this front office, the direction they're going. So, like, yeah, I would say that. Until further notice, I will text you and tell you if I think otherwise.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Jason, always good to talk
But
to you,
that's
my
not
friend.
insider trading. To be
No, that's
clear.
not.
Like, if you're making picks, I just heard myself say that. If you're making picks and they're not for anything, I'll text you. That was a joke between friends. I don't want anybody calling me.
Bragging rights. That's it.
Nobody will call you. And
No
besides,
chance.
Barker doesn't.
I love it.
Barker doesn't pay up his debts anyhow, so I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Jason. Be
You're
well.
the best, buddy. Hey, have fun the next
have
12
fun.
games. That's
Have fun.
awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
see ya.
Take care. It's Jason Benetti, play-by-play
Thank-
voice of the Detroit Tigers.
Thank goodness they didn't trade Scooble. Holy moly.
Could
Can
you
you
imagine
imagine? Oh, man. There went your window. It's like, holy moly. Now, we don't even know if they were or not, but man.
Well, yeah.
Can you imagine?
I would. No, I can't
Wow.
now. And good on them for retaining him and hanging on to
Well,
him.
maybe it was just,
Now-
maybe they tried and didn't get enough.
It's possible.
Maybe that's what it was.
Possible.
Maybe don't give him too much credit.
It will be. It's going to be interesting because after they wrap up with the Royals tonight, they go to Baltimore to face the Orioles. And there was a lot of talk about Tariq Skubal going to the Orioles. Now, the Orioles. We'll talk about this in a few minutes with, or I should say, pardon me. We'll talk about this at 5:00 with Ruben Amaro Jr. Of the MLB Network. I mean, the Orioles are in a world of hurt right now, and obviously, Captain Obvious, they could use Tariq Skubal, but it's not necessarily the pitching that's done them.
I know we're up against it. I know you've been around a lot of good teams and some bad teams. Have you ever seen a good team this time of the year look like the Orioles and they can fix it?
I mean, I've seen teams.
And how would you fix it?
I've seen teams. You know what? I'll say this. I know I've seen teams stumble into the playoffs, but the teams I'm thinking about, all of them had postseason experience, right to the point you're going, well, all they got to do is get in. All they got to do is get in.
Yeah.
Well, the Orioles don't have great postseason experience. I mean, they'll make the playoffs, but I'll tell you what, based on the way they're playing right now.
1 and out. It looks to me like you could make that and say it with some gumption. I mean, they look
Absolutely.
awful. Like Gunnar Henderson looks like he's never played defense for
Yeah,
him.
and Adley Rutschman is,
He looks young. He looks like he's never been through it before when it comes to struggling in the marathon. I don't know. Maybe sometimes when you don't go out and make moves and get guys in there who've done it before and understand what it takes to get through when you do have bumps in the road, it sort of sets you back a little bit. So it'll be intriguing. That all of a sudden is the story now.
Oh, I think
in baseball is the Orioles.
I think it's a huge story.
It is.
I think that the two dominant storylines I think going into the postseason are one, the Orioles, and two, the Dodgers pitching. Those are right now. Those are the two storylines that I think are starting to come into focus. But we'll talk to Ruben Amaro about that. I've got tickets to give away to see the Jays and the Red Sox down at the Rogers Center next week, the Jays' final homestand of the season. I'll do that next, and we'll talk about a whole bunch of other stuff as well, I think. Yeah, we will. And we won't argue, I promise. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan and Sportsnet. All right. Feel the energy in here. Mark Boffo, our producer.
As mom's mad at us, so
well, she's one of the people that thought we got a little.
You
bent
get
out
no
of
more
shape
Christmas
yesterday.
cards for me.
I mean, it is September 18th.
And it
is September 18th.
Jeff said some things that'll
maybe last night was payback for what I said to you.
I was there too. I mean, you can't pay us both back. Man.
Rangers sent 11 men to the plate in the fourth inning, 9 to the plate in the eighth.
Yeah, Bassett was going through it.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I told you he didn't have the zip on those 2 heaters. When he doesn't have that, right, and then he starts fiddling around with that thing that's, duct taped to the side of his pants, and he's pushing them buttons, and, we're getting callers in there. Why is he calling his own game? He's not. He don't. He wants to keep pace. He's trying not to. Like, when it's hit the fan, he starts pushing buttons. Like, you can tell. Like, then he tries to slow it down. He starts trying to trick people, and
You interested in seeing Bowden Francis tonight without Brian Serven?
I think you're making too big a deal out of that.
I'm not making too big a deal.
You're trying to.
I am not. I asked Buck Martinez about it yesterday, and he expressed some surprise that Brian Serven was let go.
I think they think Heineman is a better player.
I think they think that he's
I think that's what they think.
Yeah, I
and
think
hopefully that's true, and that's what they're trying to do.
For next
Jason
year.
was just on and said the Tigers are better because they have more talent.
We've been giving you the chance to win
Rocket science.
Blue Jays tickets all season long here. He also talked about pitch design. They've got a pitch designer.
He also said that the dude that's left-handed is better than everybody else that he throws.
They got a pitch designer. Too.
Okay, throws a quadrillion
They
left-handed.
got a pitch designer.
You try to always do that, don't you?
I'm just saying. We've been giving you the
Keep
chance.
thinking of Buffa's mom.
We've been giving you
not
the
gonna
chance
yell at
to.
him.
We've been giving you the chance to win Blue Jays tickets all season long here on Blair and Barker. And every time I do this, I read the exact same line, in case anybody's noticed. So why don't I change it up a bit? You know what? If you've listened to the show all season long, we've been giving you an opportunity to win Blue Jays tickets. All you have to do is text the correct answer to our daily baseball trivia question to 590-590. Standard message and
How was
data
it
rates. They may
different
apply.
before?
I changed it around a bit. I mean, because you know me.
Ad lib.
You know me and ad lib? No, ad lib, not ad lib.
No habla inglés. Keep reading.
Our last question and answer was this outfielder played parts of 9 seasons with the Red Sox and won a World Series with them before joining Toronto for a 40-game stint in 2022. The answer was JBJ, Jackie Bradley Jr. Today's question is to win
He
tickets.
had a good career. You know
Yes.
that? Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
He
Yeah.
did. Solid outfield. Really good outfielder,
World
solid
Series,
player.
man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today's question is to win tickets to see the Jays and Red Sox at the Rogers Center on September 24th. This pitcher threw a no-hitter during his time with the Red Sox and made his final major league stop in Toronto as he joined the Blue Jays in 2019. I got this right away.
Because
This
Boffo
pitch-
told you the day yesterday.
No, he didn't.
He did.
No, he asked me,
He told you the
did
answer
you know that
yesterday.
this guy pitched in the Blue Jays? And I said, anyhow.
He
this
said his
pitcher-
name.
Stop it. This pitcher threw a no-hitter. I would have got it anyhow. This pitcher threw a no-hitter during
don't
his
believe
time
it.
with the Red Sox and made his final major league stop in Toronto as he joined the Jays in 2019. Text the answer to 590-590 for your shot to win. See rules at sportsnet.ca/590. As always, standard message and data rates may apply. Ruben Amaro Jr. joins us in the next hour. Chris Leroux as well. You got anything
Fun.
you want to talk about? Because I'm just about done. I swear to God, man. I'm
Hey,
just
you know
about...
what do you think about the Mariners yesterday with Justin Turner at the plate trying to steal home with the bases loaded on a 3-0 count?
Why
Stay
not?
hot. What do you mean, why not?
Why not? If the Mariners somehow get into the playoffs,
Not a chance.
you know what? I'm kind of developing a dislike of the Mariners.
I am too.
I don't know. Why is that?
I think it's their GM. I think that's why.
Old 54%?
I think
Jerry
it's the
Dipoto?
things he does, the things he says, how he talks to his players in his clubhouse, how he acts in there. Like, you like him sort of being all in most of the time. It's just, I think
I
it's
despise that dude.
it's close. I don't know him, so I can't really get that strong with it. And I think I picked the center fielder to win the MVP in the American League, and he has been me basically all year.
He's been pretty good lately.
He's like, he has not been good.
I don't know what it is about the Mariners. I have no idea what it is about the Mariners.
You know,
I don't particularly. I just don't like.
How about this? I think we can
I don't
relate
like
too because they got really good pitching and they're wasting it. I think that is a little bit too.
Not even that.
They got really good. I'd love to see that. I would really love to see that starting pitching in the playoffs.
There are teams that I just don't like for whatever reason. The Cubs are one of them. Don't like the
That's
Cubs.
their manager. He walks on water.
No, I never liked the Cubs. Don't like the Cubs.
Oh,
The Mariners, never liked the Mariners.
$40 million on a manager's well spent.
Dodgers, never liked the Dodgers.
No,
No, just never have.
I love rooting for the Dodgers. That's why I want to see Ohtani pitch.
And I can't really think of anybody else. I can't really think of anybody
You like
else.
the
I just
Astros?
Yeah, I like Houston. I love the stadium. I like the team a lot.
Who's your
really
favorite
like the
team?
My
Don't say the
favorite-
Twins.
The Twins are my favorite team. They
Right
are.
now, today,
Twins are still
if
my
you had
favorite
if
team.
you would pick one team to watch 20 days in a row, it'd be the Twins.
It's the team that
You're lying.
it's the team I used to listen to on the radio all
Not this
the
Twins
time.
team. Right now, today, like who's the most fun? Who's the most intriguing? Who has the best pitching? Who would you like to watch offensively? All on the same team you had to watch 20 days in a row. Who would it be? Not the Twins. You're lying. Not the Blue Jays. We know that's silly. Who else?
I like watching the Twins. I have
You're
a
lying.
vested interest in the Twins doing well. I like
There's
watching
so
the
many of
Twins.
them. Like the Padres. Nah,
Padres are okay.
Now I'd watch that.
Yeah, Padres I enjoy.
Yeah, I do too. I think the
enjoy watching them.
Diamondbacks offensively, I like that too. Boy, hitting homers and knowing what to do when them bats matter the most. That's something.
The Padres I enjoy because I really like Manny Machado.
That
as a
4 or
player.
5
Always
out of
liked
2, he's got
Manny
attitude, and he just don't care. That I think is it's intriguing to me. Like you are so good, you think
stick him on this team.
that you just Jeff, he would never come here. But yeah, are you kidding?
I'm just saying
Man.
because he does. You
Well,
know,
2015, right? Everybody hated to play this team. They were cocky, like you could just despise like 3 or 4 of them. Like it's just you don't like him. Machado, most people don't like him, and he just don't care. It's like
when you say
Oh,
teams
that's
that I like
awesome.
watching though too, it's the playoffs are a different animal. I love playoff Phillies. I love watching the playoff Phillies.
Yeah.
I like Bryce Harper. I like everything about that team in the playoffs. I like the way they go about their business. I just love the fact that there's gonna be action.
Like
Balls
the Yankees,
are gonna
I
be
think,
hit all over the
like
place.
the Yankees sometimes are boring.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think
why they are, but they're boring.
Well, because they fundamentally play crap baseball.
They don't not very good at running the bases,
not-
like you mentioned. Like, and other than them 2 dudes right in the middle of the order, who else would you want to watch? Like, right?
Yeah, no.
So I don't know if it's the Yankees.
I think if they could get it together, the Orioles would be a lot of fun in the playoffs.
You know who I'm pulling for other than the Padres? I think that's my team in the playoffs. The Padres. Like I want to root for them. You know who the other team is?
Who?
The Brewers. I watched the Brewers a couple of times in a row. Like they're fun. Willie Adames, like man, Carey's picking in the ground and he's hitting homers. Like he's got almost 110 steaks. Like he's doing things. And a walk here, man, that's some good cooking there, boy.
I think I'm probably.
I'm rooting for the 2 National League teams.
I'll pull. I mean, if the Twins get in, I'll be all in the Twins. But the Padres would be.
And the Philly fans gonna be a tough take if they win. Man, alive. Like
I mean, Dodgers and Yankees would be colossal.
Yeah.
It would be colossal. But
how about Astros Padres? Ooh, I like that.
yeah, that might be I'm not certain the TV executives. would be
Oh
thrilled.
yeah, like the Texas Diamondbacks are really oozing. Can't wait to turn it to the TV.
I don't know what it is about the Padres. You're absolutely. I like the Padres.
I like the Padres.
I
I would
watched-
watch the Padres all the time. They're fun, and they got something.
For whatever reason, I guess I had nothing to do that day. I watched an entire Padres spring training game. Just for
And I
whatever
love their
reason.
uniforms
They're
too.
fun. Well, the
Their uniforms are
okay.
sweet.
Boy,
Yeah.
oh boy, that's some quality ragging the puck right there.
Only
Telling
we
you
can
who
do
we
that.
like.
Only
Telling
we
you
can
who
do
we
that.
like and who we don't like.
And you telling me how to speak English.
What else do you want to talk about?
I mean, we could get back to the Blue Jays.
Let's get
Anything
back
good
to
to
the
say
Blue
about the
Jays.
Blue Jays?
We already talked.
Okay, let me tell you something.
But
Let me ask you a question.
but
If Davis, I mean, the game's left 11. If Davis Snyder, say, plays his 9 of those, does this,
Yeah.
he on your team next year?
I mean, he comes into. Is he guaranteed a spot? No.
Well,
Yeah,
somebody's
on
got to
my
be the
team.
righty power
On-
guy
on-
off the
on my
bench.
team. Well, I'm hoping that when I add some power in the offseason, I've got a better option than that. If I don't, would I
Some faith,
like?
boy.
No, you know what? No, he wouldn't be. I'll tell you why. Because I got Ernie Clement.
Power bat off the bench.
I got Ernie Clement. Ernie would be my first choice. Pinch hitting. Who's your first choice? Ernie Clement or Davis Schneider? If they're here next year.
That's the two choices?
Yeah.
Who's pitching?
I mean, geez. Mason Miller. I don't know who's pitching.
Mason Miller and then
I
Clement.
just pulled out.
He throws hard, Ernie's got a simple little approach. Doesn't have the toe tap leg kick it to your ear.
Know.
Trying to back leg fly open with your front side, let the barrel lag.
I mean, let's be clear.
Man.
Davis Schneider has had a pretty good
3 games.
3 games after going 159 plate appearances without a freaking home run. So let's just
I don't think
keep
it's that. I think it's like the 25 game span where his OPS was like in the mid 200s. I think that's where it is, where nobody's ever heard of that. And sometimes you can use up all your mulligans like in a real small sample size. And I think that 55 game thing, he can struggle no more. Like he's not getting any more mulligans.
I disagree with that.
I don't. You can explain this to your team one time. Everybody loves him. You want to pat him on the back. You want to give him a hug. You want to let Danny Jansen give him bats. That's over. That's over.
He
gets no more.
You know the way this organization thinks.
I do. But man,
he
can go through another one of those and be in the big leagues.
He stuck to the process.
Crazy.
He did what they
what's
wanted
that word? I wish that word was around when I played.
He stuck to the process. He did what they wanted him to do. Would this have been allowed had the Jays been fighting for a playoff spot? I mean,
not a chance.
I don't think so.
Because the hitting coaches would have had other things to do than to try and teach and walk him off the plank.
But
those are facts.
If it comes down, you know what I said about bench players. I like my bench players. I like most of them to hit left-handed.
They're going to say threat, right? They need a lefty threat. They need a righty threat. That's why they kept the big boy to start the season, right? The left.
If it comes down to Schneider or Clement,
it's not going to. Because Clement can play shortstop. It's not going to. Clement's already on the team.
Well, then who is Schneider going to be better than?
That's why I'm asking you. If he does this the next however many games he's playing, I don't know how many games he's got. He'll play today because of the lefty hit a home run last night.
He'll bring him back.
He's playing today, is he?
Spring training. Maybe he gets a chance to win a spot in spring training, but he can't be in my everyday lineup. He can't. I don't even think he can be in a platoon. I don't know. Do you look at?
You just said he can't be on your team. Then.
Well, do you look at it? Well, he could be a bench player, but do you look at a platoon of? I'll ask you this: do you look at perhaps a platoon of Loper, Fido, and him in left field? Perhaps that would be, and that is going to depend on what other additions are made. I guess what I'm saying is, if Davis Schneider finishes strongly, I don't think he's necessarily increased his chances of everyday employment.
Okay, but we'll wait until they decide on who and what they're going to do in the offseason and what they're going to bring in here, and then you'll circle back around to this question.
Yeah, let me just see if they have the lineup out yet.
Because that's going to be the deciding factor is, again, we've said this. You need to move your leadoff hitter. What you don't do in the leadoff spot, what you haven't done all year in the cleanup spot, with the way your 3-hole hitter is your best hitter, cleanup hitter next year going into the offseason is the most important thing in my mind, other than a closer, that you need to figure out, other than trying to sign Vladdy. Man, that's 3 things. Wow. It's a lot of heavy lifting, but you sort of put yourself in this situation. Now you got to get yourself out of it. So we'll see. I'll answer it this way. They bring in 2 thumpers and a closer, I could care less about everything else. How's that?
I would agree with you.
You want to put Will Wagner and whoever else lead, not more power to you.
Will Wagner and Davis Schneider.
Whatever
second base
I could care less.
Whatever. I'm with you.
Who cares?
Yeah.
And no Jays fan should care either. That's what you want. The first 5 spots in your lineup. Because of what Vladdy is doing now, the cleanup spot and Bo Bichette have never mattered more. Never. And your leadoff guy. Move George down. Move up Horwitz or Bo. However you want to do that. Add a little bit more length. And now from 6 on, who cares? Gravy, what you're getting.
The other thing that needs to be thrown out there now, and we talked about this a bit yesterday, but the fact that Dalton Varsho is having rotator cuff surgery. And reading into what John Schneider said, not likely ready for spring training.
Yeah.
If that's the case, it's a rotator cuff injury. Who knows how long it's going to take for him to get ready. That is an everyday left-handed bat and a premier defender taken out of your lineup. I don't know what that does to Davis Schneider, because if I don't have Dalton Varsho in center field,
Yeah.
Joey Loperfido is probably my center fielder.
Nathan Lucas.
Thank you. Or Nathan Lucas. Okay, so there you go. There you go. That's a possibility. But that's something that we need to keep in mind as well as we move forward is, if Dalton Varsho is not ready and you have to get off the good start next year, that also has to have implications for how your team is put together. And
that's what I say. I continue to say this. Get your two guys in here that matter in your lineup. Figure out where everybody plays.
Fucking Dan made that point last night on the telecast. All of a sudden, if you're Nathan Lucas, you're looking at this situation and you're going, and you're doing what you have to do. Like,
I just like his at bats. I like that he can hit. This is real simple for me.
To me, he's like the lefty version. They're not the same hitters, but he's a lefty version of Ernie Clement. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He looks like he understands what he is, and he looks to me like he understands pitches he can't do damage on. So there's no point in getting myself out.
Two of the three of my best pitchers in the rotation are on the back nine. One of mine has been pitched to death. I need to hit 180 home runs next year. I got to get a couple of dudes in here to help Bo and Vladdy do that. I got to get a guy on in front of that. I don't care what the defense looks like in the outfield, or most of these dudes can catch the ball that they're supposed to catch. Right? George Springer will be playing right. He's a good defender. Like Nathan Lucas, he's a good defender. I mean, he's probably not, sometimes you just got to be aware of his surroundings. We've seen him pull up right around the warning track and miss balls by this much. The more he plays there, the more comfortable he'll get.
Yeah,
they talk about him like he's not a big leaguer. If he hears them talking about him like that, he feels like he's not a big leaguer. Once he is a big leaguer, you'll see that start to look like it's supposed to look in the outfield. So I don't care. I'm in that camp where it's offensively now because of who's in my rotation. It's about scoring runs. I mean, look, the Diamondbacks scoring like 5.5 runs a game. Like, you just have to do it now. It's just part of it, right? It'll help out everything.
It also, if you want to go far in the playoffs, you've got to have power to go far in the playoffs.
Homers hides things. If I don't want to go out and spend a ton of money and I want to give a little bit of a leash for people that are coming back in bullpens, and how you make up for that is the 3-run homer. But I got to bring in here dudes that know how to hit them. And you don't have a bunch. You may not have a guy hit 30 homers this year.
8:05 will be the first pitch tonight. By the way, did you notice last night that they were late starting the game?
Why?
I don't know. They were late starting the game. It was closer to 8:09 when the first pitch actually flew. So I'm just saying. You were mocking me because
you were an hour and 5 minutes late.
My uncertainty of
that's why
of first pitch times. Just listen to this. I think tune into the station at 7:00 and just listen to whatever's on at 7:00 until the game starts.
Okay.
Because there'll be a pregame.
I'll be sitting in traffic pulling my hair out, but that's fine.
Yeah, you will. I'll be sitting in the train. Ruben Amaro Jr. is a former Phillies general manager and host of the Phillies show.
That's
He's
the best
also an
half hour we've
MLB
ever
Network analyst. Pretty close. Chris Leroux is our Blue Jays radio analyst. They will join us next.
This hour will be better, we promise.
Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590. The Fan.
Don't listen to him.
Well, a little bit of more breaking news, I guess. We talked about Bobby Miller not having a locker in the Dodgers clubhouse. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts announced just a few minutes ago that right-hander Gavin Stone is experiencing shoulder soreness and is, quote, very unlikely to return this year. Now warming up in the Dodgers bullpen, Shohei Ohtani.
It's happening.
It is happening.
It's happening.
You laughed when I asked that question.
No, I said it's dumb. I didn't laugh. I said it was dumb because what he means to that organization.
If you have a chance to win it, I'm not saying that you have him start game one of the first series, But if you need a dude in Game 6 of a series or whatever, maybe you do it.
I will say,
Maybe you do
if
it.
Dave Roberts was down watching his side session, whenever they pan over on the MLB network, like the MLB Tonight, and they're seeing him, and he is letting it eat, boy.
He is.
Like, yeah, he is. Like, he is letting it eat. I'd be real hard not to say, boy, that looked good. And how do we do this? And get all these khakis to figure out how they're going to, keep his bat in the lineup and still run him out there in the pen.
He may have to start. He may not be able to use him out of the pen.
Start, huh?
Bobby Miller has been optioned to AAA Oklahoma City again. So, yeah, if you're following along, Gavin Stone, Bobby Miller, Clayton Kershaw.
I mean, if you're a Dodgers fan with the Kershaw thing, you're probably happy he ain't getting the start in the playoffs.
So, anyhow, it's been an interesting day. This close to the start of the playoffs. We're a little more than a week away, a week and a half away. The Orioles DFA Craig Kimbrell. And as we just mentioned, Bobby Miller sent down to the minors by the Dodgers, and Gavin Stone likely not to return. Ruben Amaro Jr. is host of the Phillies show. He's an MLB Network analyst. He is, of course, a former Phillies general manager. He joins us in Blair and Barker. Ruben, thanks so much for joining us today. Boy, this is, for a general manager, well, talk to me at this. From your experience, what are general managers doing at this time of the year other than obviously watching the races and keeping their fingers crossed? Because you do get to a point where there's not a lot you can do as a general manager, right?
No, you just got to let things play out. I mean, you stole my thunder as far as fingers crossed are concerned, because that's basically what you're doing. I mean, there's probably some small moves you can try to make to improve your bench or things of that nature. Obviously, the Orioles making that move with Kimbrell was a big one. But he was, clearly he was pitching ineffectively for them. Unfortunately for them, love Craig Kimbrell, love what he's done in his career, and just a great, great human being. And it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to get it done at this stage. But again, there's you just got to hope that your guys that you're counting on are playing the best baseball they possibly can as they roll into late September here.
What can the organization and the manager, you mentioned the Orioles, what can the manager and the organization do to sort of speed this along, whatever it takes? Maybe DFA in a future Hall of Famer, maybe that'll sort of shake it up. How can you fix this, Ruben, and get this sort of running into the playoffs and not limping into the playoffs?
Again, I mean, you have to sort of be the steady hand, and I think that Brandon Hyde, overall, that's what he's been. I mean, he's a professional. He's been there. He's done it. He's won with the Cubs organization. I have a great deal of respect for that staff. They've got great people over there. Freddie Gonzalez has been there and done it. There's so many other guys. I think you just have to keep steady. When you start panicking at this stage of the game, everybody senses it in the clubhouse. Just play your game, trust your guys, believe in them. That's a little bit what you'll see out of a guy like, Rob Thompson, what you'll see out of, the great ones, Bruce Bochy. Charlie Manuel was very much like that. Just, hey, believe in them, let them do their thing, and try not to make it any different than, what's been going on for the course of the other 150 or so games.
I was thinking when you were talking about that, for a team like the Orioles, still pretty young in their core, not a lot of postseason success or postseason experience for that matter. A couple of guys scuffling right now down the stretch. Adley Rutschman has been, really, really offensively at least laboring in the second half. Does Brandon have to? Does he have to be careful, Brandon Hyde I'm talking about, does he have to be careful how the clubhouse reacts to this decision today? Because Craig Kimbrell hasn't been performing, but he's also Craig Kimbrell, and he's a guy that the organization was counting on performing, and now you've got these young guys who are scuffling a bit, and, I mean, they've got to be looking around, and they can see what the results are. They can look at the standings. They've got to be looking around and going, man, is this thing just kind of spinning out of control here?
Well, I mean, again, it's a big move, but I think that, just like I said, I think Brandon's a very level-headed guy. I'm not a me personally, and I know he's can be emotional when he needs to be, but what I have seen of him is he's pretty level-headed. He's been there and sort of done it in other capacities. And yes, I mean, hey, it gets tougher and tougher when you have expectations. You know, last year they sort of jumped onto the scene and put themselves in a position to be in the playoffs. Great experience for the young kids. And hopefully that experience that they had will help carry them into this, into the latter part of the season. There's still 10, 12 games left to play. They can still get themselves right. We've done it. We've had it with, I've had it with some players who are veteran guys, a little different because they're more veteran in 2009, 10, and 11, where, we've had some struggles before the postseason, and then they sort of kick it in towards the end. But again, it's really about keeping the ship steady. When you show a ton of emotion or panic, I think in the clubhouse itself, that's something that you can control that as a manager and as a leader on the club. You can't necessarily control the moves that are made that are above you. And I'm not sure if this was something that was, designed by the front office or whether it was something, everybody approved. I don't know how they work in that front office. I don't know how the communication level is between the front office and the folks on the field. You would hope that everybody is sort of on the same page there, but again, I mean, they're just trying to get themselves to the point where they feel comfortable with the people in the back end of their bullpen. And if they feel like, Craig Kimbrell's not going to be part of that, then that's why they made their move.
Ruben, how can the way the Phillies ended their season last year help them going into the playoffs this season?
Well, there's no question that they have a chip on their shoulder going in. And it's really about understanding the adjustments that sort of have to be made as you approach this. And some teams have done a very good job. One of the things that concerned me towards the end of sort of our run is how much you've been scouted, how much you've been seen, how much you've been picked apart. The game planners in this day and age, they know how to get you out. They know your tendencies. And it's really your ability to make the adjustments when you have to make the adjustments. That's how the Phillies can overcome what happened to them, in particular against Arizona last year in the NLCS. They're going to strike out. They're going to strike out a lot. They have a lot of strikeout in their game. They also have a lot of power. So if they can get some power, yesterday was a perfect microcosm of like when things were bad, but they still won the ball game. They struck out 16 times. They hit a couple of home runs, and they got an unbelievable pitching performance from Zach Wheeler. And that can be a formula for success as long as all those elements, the other two positive elements, come into play, the power and the pitching performance. And right now they're in a position that their bullpen has been awfully good. So I think that is a big difference. It wasn't nearly as steady last year as I think, or deep as it is right now.
Last question before we let you run. I'll make it very quick. The Mets, if they get in, are they capable of sticking around for the long term, or do you look at the Mets as a team that might be one and done?
Well, they can be dangerous. They don't have a ton of guys, I think, who have been there and done that. So you start, looking across the board here. Okay, is this going to be a surprise? Are they going to be able to handle this? But you never know. When a team is hot and they're starting to believe in themselves, and clearly they've been playing much, much better brand of baseball. I think Mendoza's done a phenomenal job, man, of sort of changing that culture, like having guys actually believe in themselves. Obviously, their starting pitching has been really, really good. So you sort of see that with Detroit as well, because their pitching has been outstanding. Offensively, not great, but their pitching has been great. So anytime you got good quality pitching, you got a chance to do some damage and go deep. A lot of it depends on whether a guy like Severino Minaya and those guys can can continue to improve and do the things that they've been doing to put them in this position.
Ruben, really good of you to join us. I know we're up against the clock here. Your time's very valuable. Thanks, my friend. Be well.
Thanks, Ruben.
You guys be well, man, anytime.
All righty. That is Ruben Amaro Jr. of the MLB Network, former Phillies GM and host of the Phillies show. And, yeah, we appreciate Ruben joining us today. He had a little schedule change, and it was nice of him to squeeze us in. He's a nice man. And,
he sure is.
We do appreciate him joining us. It's interesting hearing somebody who has been in that position, has been the general manager of a good team. And, you know, I keep thinking back to something Alex Anthopoulos said a couple of years ago with us about as you get close to the playoffs, can't make a trade. I mean, this is you've made your moves, you set the team up. Now you do have obviously roster decisions to make going into the playoffs with health and all that.
Well,
but I just wonder. And I know that Trevor Rogers, who Trevor Rogers that the Orioles acquired at the trade deadline as well. Trevor Rogers has actually been pitching well in AAA. So maybe he'll be brought up at some point to help them out. But you do wonder, Kevin, Craig Kimbrell, he's scuffling, but, he's a guy who has been a dominant closer.
Yeah.
I don't know how that clubhouse reacts to losing that.
See,
that dude.
I'm going to think about it as a front office doing their manager a favor, basically by saying if a manager is trying to force a guy in a back end of a game just because of his last name is not the easiest thing to do, right? I got him down there. I got to use him. How can I use him? What pocket can I use him in? If we get rid of him, now we don't even have to worry about him. I think for me anyway, on the outside looking in, now obviously I haven't talked about it and I haven't heard anybody talk about that. But if I were the front office and I were looking at that and I was looking at my team play and I was seeing it right in front of me, and I'm sure you can tell by just the way Brandon's walking around and trying to figure out mentally how he's going to work around or get him into a game, why not just make it easy on him? Get rid of him.
That's a great point. That's something else. As you were talking, I went back and looked because I kept notes from that interview we did with Alex. And one of the things Alex Anthopoulos talked about in setting a playoff roster is you don't want to put on a pitcher or a player that the manager isn't comfortable using, because then you've put him. It's just you've introduced an unnecessary element.
Yeah, we got him. I got to use him.
Out of sight, out of mind, basically.
Absolutely. Now he's just not here. I don't have to worry about him. Like, I know he's struggling. I know what his last name is. I got to figure out some way to, hopefully if I don't use him every day, I got to keep him sharp when I do use him. How much am I going to use him? When am I going to use him? What inning am I going to use him in? If I use him in the sixth inning, will that make him chapped and then I won't see the best out of him? Now you just don't have to even worry about it. Like, I think for me anyway, on the outside looking in, I think that is an organization actually watching a baseball game and knowing their manager and their team better than we know it, and just basically saying we're gonna help you out. We're gonna eliminate. You ain't got that to worry about it. Now use better pitchers right now.
And, of course, this goes back to the injury suffered by Felix Bautista.
Oh, man, it's huge for them, right? Oh, well, that was their no-brainer. That was his security blanket. We talk about that with the Jays all the time.
And
I got the ninth inning. I worry about everybody else.
And I understand that, the Orioles are lucky because they've got all this young talent. But as we've seen in this market, those 6 years, they go by fast before you start, and that's hitting free agency. The 3 years before you hit arbitration, or 2.5 years, or 3 years, or whatever it is, those go by fast too. And all of a sudden, all that cheap production ceases to be cheap production. The Orioles are lucky because they don't have any long-term commitments. Cedric Mullins and Anthony Santander will be gone. So they don't have any long-term commitments. They'll have a lot of money to play with, but this is another year of that window of opportunity where you haven't stepped all the way through. And, I look around the American League. You look at some of the other teams. If you are the Orioles, the Yankees are always going to be a going concern. We've talked about that. Boston's got some young players. Boston makes some smart moves in the offseason, and they have a healthy Trevor Story. They could be good. You already know about Tampa. The Blue Jays got ownership that's willing to spend money. Then you get in, we haven't even talked about the Central, where you've got 4 teams that are, either one of those 4 teams next year. If I said to you, hey, you know what? Start of the regular season next year, Detroit, Kansas City, Minnesota, Cleveland, any one of them could win the division. Right now, you'd probably say, okay.
Yep.
Then you got the American League, where you got Seattle with all that pitching. You've got Houston being Houston.
You mean the West, yeah.
The West, I'm sorry. You've got Houston being Houston, and you got Texas, who will
Still
be
a lot of competition. It's your point, right?
Yeah, it's if I'm the Orioles, I'm sitting there thinking, man, this is this is
talent and
experience.
Talent and experience, because of how young baseball is now, has never mattered more in the 8th and 9th inning. I mean, I think that's what it's showing you. Like you need swing and miss. You need talent. You need just marbles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and marbles and experience are hard to find, and it costs money. And when you try and run names through there that, you're trying to massage your way through the 8th and 9th inning, it's not the easiest thing to do to get where you want to ultimately end up. So, yeah, it's the Orioles have opened the window for other teams to step through it, right? I think that's what this last little struggle here has sort of, shown the light that maybe if the Tigers get in, not so much scared of the Orioles. Like if, when the Guardians get in, they got to play the Orioles. It's like there's some holes there.
Kimbrel is on a 1-year, $12 million deal. The contract featured a $13 million team option. Obviously, this is irrelevant for 2025, as well as a $1 million buyout, should that not get exercised.
Last time we ever see him?
First half. Now, this is first half of the year. He had a 2.10 ERA, 23 saves, and 38 appearances. Since July 7th, 19 outings, an 11.50 ERA. Eventually, he was replaced by Sir Anthony Dominguez, who you remember was acquired near the trade deadline. Tuesday against the Giants, he gave up 6 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning. He'd never allowed more than 4 runs in any of his previous 836 MLB appearances. It's a guy who's got 440 saves, 5th in MLB history. Have we seen the end of him? I think if Craig Kimbrel doesn't want to retire, I think somebody will give him a look in spring training. Again, the first half of the year, he was good. I think somebody might give him a look.
If he's not pitching the 9th inning, is it worth you bringing him into your organization? That's the question. You mentioned over the 4, however many saves you mentioned there. I mean, that's a lot, right? Not throwing in the 9th inning is different than.
If you think back to when we had Freddie Gonzalez on, and if you remember, that was when the Orioles made the decision to take him out of the closer's role.
Yeah.
And one of the things Freddie Gonzalez said is how he bought into it, what a pro he was. And we're led to believe the same thing. There was no it's just going to depend. Look, Joey Votto came back and tried to make a comeback this year. Again, if Craig Kimbrel decides this is it, Godspeed, man. You're going to get a lot of Hall of Fame votes. You're not going to be a first ballot guy, but you're going to get a lot of Hall of Fame votes. But if he decides he wants to come back, and doesn't expect to get $12 million a year, yeah, somebody take a chance at him. Let me ask you this: if you're you're not. Okay.
You're going to say the Blue Jays?
I was going to say.
I know what you was going to say.
I was going to say if you get a call from his agent for spring training, you don't bring him in.
Who?
Kimbrel.
Depends on who I am, where I'm at, what inning I need to feel.
We're talking about. I'm talking about spring training.
That's the deal. It's like I need to know what inning I'm trying to feel, where he would fit in, how he would fit into my locker room, what kind of person he is. Like I need to know that.
Yes, you got to know that.
I need
to
know.
Point.
I need to know all of those things, where he's at in his career, how he feels about pitching in the 6th inning. Like he might be a 6th or 7th inning guy and not an 8th and 9th inning guy. It's one thing to say I'm all gung-ho about that. It's another thing to actually be starting the season that way and not even being in the mix for the 8th and 9th inning. I got to know all that going in. That's what I say is where you're at in your organization, how much you're trying to win, and what role he would feel.
Well, I mean, I don't think he would have. I'll tell you the God's honest truth. I don't think he'd have a role. If anything, you're probably looking at a minor league contract with an invitation to spring training.
No. Spring training's not going to tell me anything. It's been around forever. You get the best out of him in spring training. Is he going to come and earn a job in spring training? That's a lot to ask a dude that's had the career that he's had. I don't know. It's a really tricky situation. You got to be really good at communicating. You got to be really good at having a man-to-man conversation.
Having the guy,
you're going to bring him in like you got to really have.
Guy in the first half of the year had 23 saves.
What have you done for me lately?
Oh yeah, 23
lately
saves.
You stunk.
What's anybody in this bullpen done lately?
Done the same thing he's done.
Luis Frias.
That's not Frias' fault.
Tommy Nance.
That's not Tommy Nance's fault.
No, I'm just saying.
Tommy Nance has been decent.
If you're bringing these dudes
got a good breaking ball. I'd be all right with Tommy Nance in the 6th inning. Yeah, again, he's got a big breaking ball. He's got run. He can get an out against the righty. You pocket him right. I can't have my 8th and 9th inning guys being pocket dudes. That's not how you win World Series. It's just not. So
I think you'd have to see what you'd have to see.
There's the communication factor of this. You got to walk up to him, shake his hand, and have a man-to-man conversation and be able to read everything that would go into that conversation. And tell him straight up. Don't lie. Don't say you're going to have a chance to be the club. No.
Yeah.
If I pitch you in the 6th inning, are you okay with that?
I'm sure.
And see what his answer is.
Well, that's the whole thing here. That's what I'm saying. You have to be sure that he doesn't think he's coming in, and he's not coming in to close. He's not going to be your 9th inning guy. You're saying to him, you got a shot to make a major league roster as a reliever. That's it. Where?
He's just wild. It looks to me like he's forcing velocity because he's getting a little older. That's what it looks to me like. And when you get older, I used to be there. I mean, I'm not the caliber him.
You asked me if I thought somebody will give him a look if he wants. If he doesn't want, put it this way. If he gets a call, if his agent gets a call from somebody and the agent says, let me talk to him and see if he's still interested, then no. If he's not interested, I don't think there's, just retire, walk away and wait for wait for Cooperstown. But if he is interested, will somebody give him a chance? Absolutely.
Yeah, I know for a fact the pitching coach here in Toronto is tired of having things that he's got to fix and reinvent.
He's always going to have that.
No, he doesn't. Contending teams shouldn't have 8th and 9th inning guys that he's trying to figure out how to keep them lanes and sequencing. No, I'm going to give you the ball. You're going to stuff them to death. 6th and 7th inning guys, I'll walk you off the plank.
The Orioles aren't, or the Yankees don't have that guy.
Yeah, and that's probably why they're not going to win the World Series. Simple. This is the way it is, man. The 8th and 9th inning, because of what they don't do in the rotations now, have never mattered more.
We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we will be joined in studio by Chris Leroux.
Fun.
Bowden Francis starts tonight without Brian Serven. Should we be lighting candles?
You're making that is such.
Should we be lighting candles?
Look at you trying to start something. So if he has a bad start, we're blaming the catcher and the organization.
Yes.
Okay.
Why fool around with almost perfection?
Oh boy.
Almost like it's
called the future, Jeff. It's called the future.
Adamant's not 22 years old.
He's better than that guy.
He is?
That was here serving you.
All right. I'm just saying. What's the one thing that's worked this year, this month, when we sit down at the end of the year and say, pluses for the Blue Jays, minuses for the Blue Jays. Big plus is going to be Bowden Francis. And now you've kind of screwed around with it.
He's been around long enough to throw to a different catcher. Just push the right button and set up early enough that I can hit the spot.
Chris Leroux joins us next. It's Blair and Barker. The post-Brian Serven edition of Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590
How will
The Fan
we
and
sleep?
Sportsnet. All right, well, I guess the second day, technically, of the post-Brian Serven era. has begun for the Toronto Blue Jays. Bowden Francis, who's been, gosh darn, awfully close to perfect, will be starting tonight for the Jays against the Texas Rangers. And this is the Jays lineup: Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, Kirk, Horwitz, Clement, Schneider, Loper, Fido, Jimenez, Bowden Francis, Alejandro Kirk getting the start. Of course, we mentioned earlier Brian Serven. Those of you who rushed out to buy his jerseys, Brian Serven was DFA'd yesterday, and Tyler Heineman
Must be a big deal.
to replace him.
So I've been told.
The Jays did make a lineup move. We will not.
Man, are you excited or mad?
I'm happy. Luis Frias will not darken our doorstep again this year. He has been sent to AAA.
Dylan Tate's pretty good.
Tate.
Well, he was.
He was.
Yeah.
Dylan Tate has been recalled. So there you go. And here to explain why Bowden Francis, while it's a calamity. It's shocking.
How will he
it's
do
shocking
it? How will he make it
that
through the
Brian
first
Serven,
inning
his
without his security blanket?
His security blanket is gone. How is it going to affect Bowden Francis?
Or will it?
Chris Leroux, our Blue Jays radio analyst, joins us. This is a big deal, isn't it, Chris?
That's a thing. When
See?
when a catcher and a pitcher are comfortable with each other, they work well together. They know what pitch to call in certain counts.
Why would you screw with it?
That's what
Yeah.
I was thinking when I saw that transaction had been made. I thought to myself, there's 2 weeks left in the season. What's the point of that? I'm sure Bowden Francis thought the same thing. He woke up and he looked at his transactions or his Twitter or whatever.
They don't
he was
care
looking
about
at.
me. That's the first thing he thought of? Is they don't
No.
care about me. They don't care about
No,
how
I don't
I
think
feel.
that's what Bowden was thinking.
No.
I think he was thinking,
Why?
why are they getting rid of my security blanket? I like pitching to him.
Do you
I've
really
been-
think in 2024 that pitchers need security blankets? Like it used to matter a lot. They were asking the starting pitcher to go deeper in a game. I got to trust you. I got to trust that you see that dude scooting a little closer in his second at bat because he's trying to hit that spinner before it spins. I'm just asking. It's
Have you-
different in 2024.
I was always a guy that I would get out to the mound and I would see somebody that I'm comfortable with and I would think, whew, all right, today's going to be a good day. And I would get out to the mound and I would see somebody either new to the roster or somebody who I'm not comfortable with. They always put down a 3 when I want a 1, or they put down a 1 when I want a 3. They mess up the routine of what pitch to
Sequencing,
throw. Yeah, the sequencing. And it would mess with my head, not necessarily the stuff or the command or anything like that, but it would mess with my head. And I don't know if Bowden's the same way. He might be the exact opposite. He might not care, and we're just making a big deal about it.
Yeah.
But that's just the way I was, and I know a lot of pitchers are like that.
Okay, take me inside. Take me if I'm sitting at home and I don't know pitching. And
You don't.
I'm,
You
well,
don't.
that's
33,
debatable.
33 years old.
That's debatable. How do I know that that's bothering Bowden? Like when I'm watching him throw.
Well, I'll tell you what Brian Serven does really well. He's never been a great framer. He's not a great blocker. He's not a great hitter. We all know that. Those are things that we've seen over the course of his career, over the course of his Blue Jays career. But he gives the pitcher who's ever pitching, whether it's Bowden Francis or Trevor Richards, it doesn't matter. He gives you confidence. You'll make a bad pitch and he'll catch the baseball and he'll point his glove out you like you just threw the best pitch of your life.
Yeah.
Alejandro Kirk doesn't do that. He's a great framer. He's a great blocker. He's a decent hitter.
He doesn't like to move. He doesn't like to move around unnecessarily.
Right, but
I like
he doesn't really point his glove out you, tell you, boy, that was a great pitch, buddy. That even though it was a bad pitch, even though it was a pitch that you probably in your head thought that it was a bad pitch, but as soon as that catcher tells you, attaboy, good job, nice miss, you're like, oh, maybe that was a good pitch.
See, if I'm a fan of the Jays, I'm thinking this about the future. Heineman's better than Serven. He's more athletic. I like him better.
Neither one of them are part of the future. It doesn't matter. I'm thinking about Bowden Francis.
You really care about the bottom end of your rotation going into next year.
This guy is on the greatest run in the history of baseball.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. It's whatever. Next year is. I mean, who cares who's catching?
Who cares about Tyler Heineman or Brian Serven?
Exactly. I don't.
They seem to care.
No.
They seem to care.
All I'm saying is I don't understand. I don't understand why. I just don't understand why. Why? I mean. It's not like everything you've done this year has worked out, huh? Let's be clear. It's not like you're on this amazing run of success. Everything we touch has turned to gold, right?
Oh, a few things.
Like
Spencer Horwitz.
Yeah, they tried not to.
Yeah,
They tried not to call him up. They tried.
They did try.
Yeah, they were doing their best.
It's you've got something that's working. I just don't. Why?
Yeah, I think in
Or you know
2024, you guys are making too much out of this.
Absolutely. I couldn't disagree with you more.
I think you're making.
This dude is on a historic run.
So
He almost threw a no-hitter in his last game, and you're like, see ya, buddy.
So if he has a bad start,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the first thing you're going to
Absolutely.
say at the end of the game.
Absolutely. This
How
guy
dare
was not
you get rid of Serven?
Yes.
You're going to say that?
Yes.
And I'll chime in too on Blue Jays talk following the game tonight. 416-870-0590 star 591
Well, you would know
888
more than me about the pitching thing, but
You can call me soft. I know that's what you're thinking.
soft for. No,
For
I just think a target's a target. Why Bowden has turned sort of it around is fastball command, away and up. Serven or whoever else is catching them ain't going to change that. Like, I'm not abusing my split finger. I'm not abusing my slider. It's the fastball away, dotted. It's the fastball up. There's that line, right? I got to stay a little above it. I can't stay a little below it. And I'm sneaky. For whatever reason, something I'm doing is just tricking them.
Right.
That has something to do with the catcher.
There's a lot of deception.
Again, that has something to do with the catcher.
I mean, I've been saying this all. If dudes are mishitting 89 down the middle, there has to be deception, right? But I take you back to the comfort level.
Maybe.
You have to be
The comfort,
was
there has to be a comfort
If
level.
it was Bassett, I would agree. Just getting on the same page and, the pace of the game, all that stuff. But, man, the bottom end of the rotation, do you throw to who I tell you to throw to?
If I had a .4 whip and all of a sudden the manager says, hey, we're going to switch it up. You kidding me?
I guess.
I'm the best pitcher in baseball.
How much you paying me?
Kevin.
How much you paying me?
If you're a hitter and you're in the middle of a 12-game hitting streak, you come in the office and I go, hey, Barker, nice job. You're hitting ninth. You're going to be throwing stuff around. You're going to be
I'd
throwing
still
stuff
be in the
around.
lineup. I could care less. I'm going to get three at bats instead of four at bats.
That's the cynical old minor leaguer talking. You know as
the question.
You know as well as I do. If Vladdy comes into the office,
you shouldn't ask me and him this because we were fighting and clawing to stay in the big leagues.
Okay,
throw us and hit us wherever you want to throw us and hit us.
Vladdy comes in the office today and Schneider says, you know what? We're going to have you leading off. We're going to have you leading off today.
That is a
little bit different situation.
That's terrible. One's making almost $20 million a year, and one may not even make the team next year.
Wait, who's that?
I mean, we had Buck on yesterday, and we asked Buck about Bowden. And he's like, let's back up a little bit. Let's, pump our brakes.
But he also said
I love
that
Buck.
it was interesting.
I'm just saying what he said.
I disagree with Buck.
He also said it was an interesting decision letting Brian Serven go. And that's Buck speak for, I'm not certain I would have done it.
Well, I also don't think Yariel should be in the rotation. So that opens up a spot right there. Bowden's going to take Yariel's spot.
But
Yariel will be in the bullpen.
Because they gave him $32 million. You know as well as anybody.
You don't think
because they're going to look.
Him.
It's like Loper Fido. They traded for Loper Fido. He's going to get every. He's going to get every chance known to man to be the starting left fielder. You know it, and I know it. Jeff knows it.
Yariel couldn't locate a fastball if we paid him $100 million.
We know that, but they gave him $32 million, so he's going to get every opportunity to, write down what his routine is and figure out, where he's going to eat before starts and how we're going to walk around the warning track to get you mentally prepared to go 4 1/3.
So you don't think so? So tell me this. You'll have an opinion on this.
Fun,
you don't think Ross Atkins knows that next season is a quote unquote
This is tricky.
do or die season for him personally.
This is tricky,
right?
boy.
Professionally.
Jeff. I got.
If he doesn't come to play next year,
I
mean,
think
there's probably
that
some
Ross,
things going to happen at the end of the season.
Do I think the GM knows?
Don't look over here. I'm not helping you out of this one.
I've never seen somebody put their lips on the mic before.
It's
pretty scary.
That is I cleaned it before I came out here. Nice try.
Yeah, but it's the guy coming up next that's got to worry about.
I'll clean it before he touches it. Can I plead the fifth on that question?
You can. I want you to answer it.
Yeah, look, I think the way we watch the game and the way they watch the game is on opposite ends. I'll say it that way. How about that?
All right.
Yeah, I thought there was
Yeah,
urgency this year.
I don't
and last year.
try to. I'm not trying to attack what I think that they think they're seeing that we're not seeing. I think they need a closer. I think they need 2 thumpers. I think one of them needs to protect Vladdy. I think they need to put George Springer in the 6 hole. You think all of that will happen? Or do you think Horowitz will be playing first, Vladdy will be playing third? They'll force Chad Green to come up with a split finger, and he'll be closing because they're giving him $10 million. Which one you betting your check on?
I don't think they're getting
That's
closer.
where I'm at
I don't
with
think they're
that.
getting a closer. I think they trust Jordan Romano.
That's what forced play smells like. Like,
I
there
don't
you
think
go.
so.
Like, that's
I
where
don't think so.
that's where
Jordan
we're at.
Romano's been good for 3 years.
Oh, boy.
He has. He's been
love
the
this
only
guy.
time he
I
really
love this
pitches poorly is in a non-safe situation.
I love this
I'll
guy.
be back in a couple of minutes.
I
You
love
guys
this guy.
Seriously,
just
though.
carry on.
I
Seriously.
Two
don't-
thumpers for sure. I totally agree. I totally agree. But
You have no
I
idea
think
what you're
Jordan,
going to get from Jordan.
I think Jordan. Well,
No
he's a
idea.
little bit messy at times, but he gets the job done.
He's hurt. Been hurt all year. Do you throw hard? Are you abusing that slider? That thing going to be any good? Are you going to finish it? How's the heart rate going to feel when you're running in? Are you going to get hurt again? What if?
This is quality.
I'd rather
stuff.
handle my what if already, and then Jordan can throw the 8th inning.
So you're
Bing,
willing,
bang,
you're,
boom.
you're willing to pay another guy
Yeah, it's about winning.
$12 million,
Predictability.
let's say, to
Predictability
close when
costs
you
money.
already have a
Jeff,
closer.
Jump in here, Jeff.
I don't think that's going to help you get to the World Series.
Absolutely.
No, it
is.
won't. 2 thumpers, yeah.
Can I change the subject?
Go for it.
I don't really want to. No.
We both agree, I think, in different ways.
I do want to add.
How's that?
I just don't want to pay another guy in the bullpen.
They have to pay. Like it costs money. Ask the Orioles. Ask the Orioles. They're
Yeah.
they're not
Well, they have
they're
other
going to get
issues as
thumped
well.
in the first round for other reasons, but that's one main reason.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
You guys done?
All right,
No,
go ahead. No, we're good.
He's exactly right about
Okay.
most of this stuff. We just say it in a different way.
This team gives up a ton of home runs.
Yeah, they do.
They fall behind. That's the
Rotation and
problem.
bullpen.
Strike one. And they abuse the
I was
secondary
going to
stuff.
ask you. I mean, it's not like, it's in their DNA to give up home runs. I was going to ask you why does it seem like everybody in this team gives up a lot of home
I
runs?
got another
You
good
come into a
question.
ball game, you fall behind 1-0, 2-0. That it's a predictable pitch. It's not so much that you're going to throw
So
a
lack of
fastball.
stuff?
Lack of stuff.
Lack of stuff from their
Hanging
starters.
secondary stuff. Abused this.
I don't think it's lack of stuff from the starters. I think it's just lack of command. I think a lot of the starters are fatigued right now. I think a lot of the bullpen guys, obviously, you think of Tommy Nance, you think of Ryan Burr, you think of even Brendan Little. Those guys shouldn't be in the situations that they're in. Are they big league pitchers? Maybe on a bad team. Should they be high leverage big league relievers? Absolutely not. Right? Tommy Nance has great stuff, but should he be a high leverage guy? Absolutely not. He should be the 7th or 8th guy in a bullpen.
Parker
Right?
thinks Tommy Nance is the answer. That's his nickname.
Not true.
For him. The answer.
But you do agree that he has pretty good stuff.
6th
That
inning guy.
curveball's
I
good.
think he's got a really
Yeah.
good curveball.
Yeah,
I think
he's
he'd be good in the
answer
6th
man.
inning.
Yeah.
He's not going to cost you a ton of money.
Exactly.
No word.
I mean,
it's
that's,
shame on
that's
me
where
for
you'll
allowing
find
him to do.
yeah, you'll find yourself in 4th
Yeah,
place.
let me
if
ask
that's
you.
the
They
case.
give up a lot of stolen bases last night. I think Bassett gave up one. It scored with 2 outs. Can you fix that in an offseason? Like, can I go in an offseason and go, now I got to think about fixing that, and it's going to help me this year? Is that a hard adjustment to make in an offseason when basically you can tell they don't really care, I think? We're going to do the best we can. If they steal second, so what? As long as they don't score a ton. Is it easy to fix in the offseason?
Well, I think a lot of pitchers are concerned with making a bad pitch. If they're too quick, the arm drags, they leave the ball up, and it's a home run.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm Kevin Gausman, who's not great at holding runners, if I'm Chris Bassett, not great at holding runners, I mean, if a guy swipes second but I make a great pitch, which one do you want?
Yeah,
Right?
that's fair.
I think a way to attack that is just hold the baseball. Vary up your holds. You're still going to make a good pitch. You can still have the same leg lift. You can still have the same long arm. You just vary your holds, and that guy's not going to steal.
Hard to do that with Bassett, though, right? How long it takes him to
But
push
didn't.
the-
I think it's hard. I think it's hard.
I think it's on purpose. That's what I think.
I love watching.
You'll wait for me to throw it.
I have
Deal with it.
I have grown
it's
to
on.
love watching Chris Bassett.
No,
You're
you haven't.
lying.
No,
He's
you
such a liar.
No, I have
you
because
you
I
can
know
yell
that
at
he,
him like I did yesterday.
I
Yell at
know-
him.
That was actually entertaining.
I know.
I was listening to you guys.
I know that he's screwing with me. I love that.
He is.
I know that
He's
Chris
very
Bassett
needy.
is.
I think that's the word. It's the best word for him. He's very needy. Like I remember the first time I went to spring training. I saw you down in spring training when he was taking the tape and doing the quadrants and taping it so he could show the catchers. It's like I'm going to throw these 3 right here. If I miss, I'm going to throw the next one right. It's like you just can't get on the same page and do everything and control everything, and then it looked like it looked last night. So, it is what it is. Do you think the Blue Jays have taken a step forward? Like, do you think that
You want to just do the show now?
Well, no,
I like this. I like this.
I just wonder. I haven't talked to him in a while. I know he's seen the young guys. I've listened to him on the radio. You do a lot.
You haven't listened to me on the radio.
I have, absolutely. You come on before we do.
All right.
So I'm listening, and you do. You like some of the young guys.
I do like some of the young guys.
Are they better now than they were 3 months ago? And would you be okay? Say 3 of the 6 are on your team next year.
I mean, I love Will Wagner, and I love Spencer Horwitz.
There's a lot of love for Will.
I love Joey Loperfido's athleticism.
Yeah.
I think the package hasn't really been – I mean, the package is great, but it hasn't
Got some
all
work.
been put together yet.
Yeah.
And I think he becomes Kevin and I talked about this a bit. I'll let you finish, but just to jump in, I think with Dalton Varsho's status for the start of spring training unknown, Joey Loperfido
Nathan Lucas.
or Nathan Lucas. I mean, they could very well
Right.
both be in the outfield on opening day if it's a righty.
When you watch Joey Loperfido, I mean, I could be off with this, but I think of like Christian Yelich maybe.
Same type of body.
Yeah, just maybe not same swing, but relatively similar swing. I mean, I could be wrong there. I'm not a swing guy, but I just feel like he's the guy with the highest ceiling. But then you look at Will Wagner, Spencer Horwitz. Who am I missing?
Nathan Lucas.
Nathan Lucas. Those 3 guys have dominated AAA. And when you can hit 325, 330, 340 multiple times in AAA, there's something there. I'm not saying you're going to be an all-star in the big leagues, but there's something there. You're a professional hitter. You have a great swing. You know how to play the game. There has to be a reason why you're hitting so well multiple years in a row in AAA. And I think that gets overlooked sometimes. Look at Will Wagner. He hit 327, I believe, last year, 316 this season in AAA, and then he was just raking in the big leagues. There has to be something to dominating multiple seasons in a row in AAA.
Yeah, I think, one of the things we hear an awful lot is that the pitching in AAA, there's never been a bigger gap between pitching at AAA and pitching in the majors. But further to your point, that's why I think if you have a 2-year sample size or a couple of years sample size, you're more likely to buy into that than like I don't buy into anything when a guy says, he's been raking for the last month at
has
AAA.
to be multiple seasons. Has to be.
Yeah.
Now you guys do know.
We also would have to add. Have you noticed Elvis Martinez has been hitting some home runs?
He's got to hit 30 at AAA for you to take him serious now. At least he does for me. I'm there yet.
No, he's still a prospect.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
he's still a top prospect. I mean, I know that hurts your ears, but that's just the way baseball is.
Hurt.
Look at Fernando Tatis. I mean, it's like nothing ever
that's
happened.
different. I dropped 330 large on Fernando. I can get rid of. I don't know. Maybe
if he comes in and
I'd trade him in a second if I could.
I'd trade him for something good.
Absolutely.
Sure. Maybe a closer.
But I'm not certain.
I love that. I love that.
He could be part of your answer in that platoon at second base.
Well, no, you guys have
Wagner
already said Will Wagner's leading off and playing second.
I never
not
said
said
that.
That's basically what the both of you and Buck Martinez
said
come on
that.
yesterday and said
Buck
greatest
said-
thing we've seen in forever. I thought it was you never
stop it.
take a dude serious in spring training and September.
I think
He raked in August.
you asked Buck if your
The
question
second
was,
baseman was
is
on the
next
team.
year's second baseman on this team?
I didn't get it out, the sentence out.
And he said
And
yes.
Buck was like,
He
they're
didn't
in
say
love.
He didn't say that
Yeah.
that he's going to be a leadoff hitter or anything like that. You're the one that then went, you've been saying Will Wagner's going to be the leadoff hitter.
Oh,
And
boy.
no, all Buck said was that he is the opening day second baseman. And I said, right now, he probably is. Right now. But who knows what the offseason is going to look like.
This is where you guys started to argue.
This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
exactly
I
where we
remember
started
this from
This is
yesterday.
it. This is
It
it.
got heated yesterday, just over this exact
And
I know,
all,
really? It was
all I
heated.
said to Kevin was stuff changes. This is
No, you said don't believe anything anybody says. That's what you said. And I said,
don't.
well, why do we have a show and have people like Buck on who knows a lot?
No.
And obviously has talked to people that are going to make decisions in the offseason.
Because
Like it ain't hard to figure out who Buck's talking to.
Buck talks to a lot of guys.
Absolutely,
If he's
but it
saying
ain't.
something,
It ain't
he's heard it.
it ain't hard to know who he's talking to. That's telling him that.
I am not saying that you don't believe anything you're told. I'm
That's
saying
what I heard.
everything is liable to change. Nothing's
they
carved
lie.
in. Well, people do lie. I'm not saying Buck lies, but I mean, show me a successful general manager, and I'll show you a guy who's lied a lot. Like seriously,
Man.
Seriously.
I think go out and get good players.
I don't think it's lying. I
that's
think
a
it's
good-
just something better is
What
put in
was
front of you.
What did JP Ricciardi
And then
say?
you're
It's
like-
not lying if we know it's not the truth, or it's not lying if we know what we.
I don't know. I never.
Oh, it's-
Nobody listens
I
to
never
JP
listened
except
to
you.
That's it. There's nothing wrong when a general manager
Wouldn't know him if he
misleads you.
fell on
That's
him.
part of the game. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, you got to talk up your players' value, and general managers know that people talk. So you want to get a message out. Brian Burke
Buck,
admitted he did this in hockey.
Buck,
He
what
said,
show
"I'd
you
call
going
a
on?"
reporter and say, float a trade rumor to get it out
Buck,
there."
what show you going on in 15 minutes? You know who the best second baseman in our organization is, right?
By the way, congratulations to the Milwaukee Brewers.
I know. I don't
Your
think we
Brewers.
talk about them enough.
We don't. Maybe
Nobody
tomorrow we'll
talks
get a
about them.
Brewers
No.
guest on.
Nobody.
I hope they make a decent run. It'll be more fun if
Congratulations
they
to the
do.
Brewers.
Yeah. You think anybody cares?
What did they
that's
clinch?
The,
They
that's the
clinched
bad
the
thing, right?
title or the
Brewers?
wild
Yeah.
card. They
Yeah,
clinched-
nobody.
That's awful because
Yeah.
they got a good team.
Yeah.
Willie
Brewers?
Adamas
It
has
is a
got
fun
like
team. It's a
110
fun team.
stakes.
It's a fun
Got
team.
almost 40 homers, I think.
They'll lose in the first round.
Great.
See, I don't know.
They got a good core.
Yeah.
They got a all-star and a carrier at shortstop.
How fun were they with Prince Fielder, Ryan Braun, John Axford? That was a great team.
You included John Axford.
He did.
Oh, he was fun. You had a Fu Manchu and long hair.
Yeah.
40
Throwing
saves.
hard.
What more do you
Throwing
want?
Clinched the playoff
Predictability.
spot, and they win the NL Central.
That's
But
awesome.
the Cubs lost today. So the Brewers backed in. They
well,
backed in.
how did the Cubs lose with the manager that walks on water?
Isn't that kind of funny? Craig Counsell
Pay
leaves
$40 million
Milwaukee, goes to
for-
Chicago, signs the
pay $40
highest
million.
contract
$40
a
million
manager's
for a
ever been
manager.
given.
Are you playing?
That's silly.
That is
And the
nuts.
Brewers,
Especially in baseball because they
the
You
Brewers,
get what you deserve.
the Brewers say, not only do we not
Nuts.
care if you go manage the Cubs, but we're going to get rid of Corbin Burns
From game one,
from
too.
Gateway.
They've been good since game one.
They have.
Good for the Brewers.
This is a
I
lot
hope
of
they
fun.
beat the Dodgers
It's a lot of fun.
in the
Finally,
second round.
The Brewers are recovering. The Brewers are recovering from that awful.
I can't wait
from that
to
awful
watch
fourth
Bowden
round pick they made in.
work through this lineup tonight,
gonna
go
be-
8 scoreless, and you two are going to pull.
And what happens if he doesn't?
We'll be doing
say
Blue
start
Jays talk
locating the
tonight.
heater better.
We'll be doing Blue Jays talk tonight following the game. We'll be doing it following tomorrow's game as well. Have a great night.
When we at Miller Lite set out to brew a light